Hey everyone, welcome in. Today we're going deep on third-party risk management.
Yeah, it's quite the topic.
I think most people listening already know that third-party breaches are a big problem, a huge problem actually.
60% of
Sure.
all data breaches involve a third party.
60%.
It's so
That's
huge.
it's wild. And the thing is, the cost. We're not just talking about a little slap on the wrist.
Millions,
Mm.
sometimes billions
Yeah.
of dollars
Yeah.
in costs.
It's crazy. And that's not even the whole story. What about reputation?
Huge.
Customer trust?
Gone.
Legal battles?
Yeah, years of that.
It's a nightmare.
It can be, but it doesn't have to be.
Right, and that's why we're here, to break it all down, give you the knowledge to handle all of this.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, we've got you covered.
So let's start with the basics. What is third-party risk? Because we hear that term everywhere, but what does it actually mean?
It's any risk that comes from your company interacting with external entities.
Okay, external entities. That's pretty broad.
It is. It's more than just vendors and suppliers,
Like who else?
consultants, outsourcers, even your business partners.
Right.
Anyone outside your company who can get to your systems, your data,
Mm.
your reputation.
So it's not just like making sure the caterer shows up on time. This is serious stuff.
It is serious. We're talking about protecting the heart of your business.
Okay, give me an example. Something real.
Target, 2013,
The data breach.
massive data breach.
Yeah, I remember that. Didn't they have problems with credit cards?
Millions of credit cards
Yeah.
compromised. And it all came down to a third-party vendor,
Really? Which one?
HVAC company. They had access to Target's network.
Wow, so even a giant like Target can get taken down by a third party?
They did. It cost them $18.5 million in settlements, plus the damage to their reputation.
So this isn't just about checking boxes on a compliance checklist. This is about staying in business.
It is. You've got to be strategic, proactive. You've got to protect yourself from these threats.
Okay, so where do we start? How do we protect ourselves?
You've got to know your allies and your potential enemies.
I know who you're working with.
Exactly. Make a list of all your third parties.
Okay, and then?
Figure out who's got access to what kind of data they handle, and what risks they might bring to the table.
That sounds like a lot of work.
It is. But it's worth it.
Okay, so let's say I've got my list. How do I prioritize? Where do I start?
Start with the ones who have access to your most sensitive data. Customer financial info, health records, proprietary
Well,
stuff.
those are the big ones for sure.
Those are the ones that can really hurt you. So you got to scrutinize them closely.
Okay, so data sensitivity. What else?
Where are they operating? Are they in a place with strict data protection laws like GDPR?
Oh, right. GDPR. That's the European one, right?
That's the one. And what's their track record like? Have they had any security incidents, any breaches?
Kind of check their history.
And the last thing, how important is the service they provide? Are they running your IT or handling customer support?
So the more important their role, the higher the stakes.
Exactly. It's like a game of chess.
Oh, I like that. Assessing the board, planning your moves.
Exactly. And once you have a good understanding of your third-party landscape, you can build your risk assessment framework.
Okay, framework. So there's like a set way to do this.
There are a few different ways. Two popular ones are FAIR and Octavi.
Okay, what are those?
FAIR, that's factor analysis of information risk. It's a quantitative approach, trying to put a dollar value on potential risks.
Okay, so like how much could this risk potentially cost us?
Exactly. And then there's OSTEVAV. That stands for Operationally Critical Threat, Asset, and Vulnerability Evaluation. It's more qualitative.
So more about identifying threats.
Right. Looking at threats, vulnerabilities, and potential impact, but not necessarily putting a dollar amount on it.
Got it. So FAIR is more numbers focused. OSTEVAV is more about understanding the risks.
Yes.
So how do you pick the right framework? Is one better than the other?
It depends on your industry, the size of your company, how much risk you're willing to take, and your resources.
So a small company with a low risk tolerance might go with Octave, while a larger company with more resources might choose FAIR.
Could be. FAIR can be resource intensive,
Right.
but it gives you a more precise assessment. Octave is less precise, but it's a good starting point.
Especially for companies with limited resources.
Exactly. But no matter which framework you use, you've got to be consistent, thorough.
Right, so you're analyzing each third party, finding vulnerabilities, assessing the potential impact.
You got it.
Okay, all of this sounds very strategic, very high level. But what about the nitty-gritty? How do you actually put these frameworks into action?
You need clear policies and procedures.
Okay, like rules.
Rules, guidelines, things that govern how you interact with third parties, from the very beginning
Mm.
to ongoing monitoring to how you handle incidents.
So you need a plan for every step of the way.
Exactly. And those policies should cover everything: due diligence, contract negotiation, data security, incident reporting.
So it's not just about saying, hey, you can't do this. It's about having a process in place for everything.
Exactly.
Mm.
For example, your policy should say what kind of security assessments your vendors need to do. Do they have to meet certain standards, like ISO 27011?
Right. Making sure everyone's on the same page.
And what happens if they don't meet those requirements?
Yeah.
You need to have that spelled out. It's about clarity, consistency, accountability.
Got it. So everyone knows what the rules are and
Yeah.
what happens if they break them.
Exactly. And these policies, they're not set in stone. You've got to review them, update them
Because things change.
all the time. The threat landscape changes. Regulations change. Your business changes.
So it's a constant process of evaluation and improvement.
It is. Now, imagine if you could have like an army of digital knights enforcing these policies.
Digital knights. I like that. Tell me more.
Well, not actual knights, of course. But technology can help you automate this, streamline it.
Okay. Yeah, I can see how that would be helpful, especially with all the paperwork.
Exactly. Think about all the vendor documents you need. Contracts, insurance certificates,
Mhm.
security audits. It can be a nightmare.
Oh, I know. So much paper.
But with the right software, you could automate all that. Vendors upload their documents directly. The software verifies them, sends reminders when things are about to expire, generates reports for your auditors.
Wow. That sounds amazing. Less time chasing paper, more time actually managing risk.
Exactly. And that's just the beginning. These tools can track vendor performance. Watch for red flags,
Red flags. Like what?
like security breaches, financial instability, things like that.
Yeah.
And they can give you real-time insights into your overall third-party risk profile.
So it's like having a control center for all things third-party risk.
Exactly. We'll dive into these tools in more detail next time. But before we wrap up this part, there's one more thing.
Okay, what's that?
You can't do this alone. You need to work with other departments: IT, legal, procurement, compliance, even the business units themselves.
It's a team effort.
It is. Break down those silos. Create a culture of shared responsibility. That's how you build a truly robust program.
Okay, so collaboration is key. Work together, everyone. Great. Well, I think that's a good place to pause for now. We've laid the groundwork. We've talked about identifying risks, assessing them, establishing policies and procedures.
And we've talked about the importance of collaboration and getting everyone on the same page.
Right. So we've built our foundation. Now, in our next session, we'll explore those tools and frameworks that can take our third-party risk management to the next level. So stay tuned.
Looking forward to it.
Welcome back, everyone. We're diving back into third-party risk management.
Picking up where we left off.
Yep. Last time we laid the groundwork, talked about identifying your third parties, assessing their risk, all that good stuff.
Building that solid foundation. And now it's time to look at the tools and tech that can help.
Right. Because in today's world, you need more than just a plan. You need the right technology to keep up.
Exactly. That's where third-party risk management software comes in.
Okay, so tell me about this software. What does it actually do?
Well, it can automate a lot of those manual processes, the ones that can really bog down your team.
Yeah, like all the paperwork.
Exactly. Freeing up time and resources so you can focus on the big picture.
Makes sense. So let's get specific. What features are we talking about?
One of the biggest is vendor document management. Think about all those contracts, certificates, audits, so many documents.
Oh, I know. It's a nightmare.
These tools can streamline that whole process. Create a central place for all your vendor documents.
Like a digital filing cabinet?
Kind of,
Yeah.
but way more sophisticated. It's not just about storage. It can also automate the verification process, make sure everything's up to date, accurate, and compliant.
So it's saving time, reducing errors.
Exactly. It's about efficiency and accuracy.
And compliance, too.
Right. You can't forget compliance.
Okay, so document management. What else?
They can also help with vendor risk assessments. A lot of them have built-in questionnaires and scoring systems to guide you through the process.
Oh, so like those risk assessment frameworks we talked about earlier.
Exactly. It helps you apply those frameworks in a systematic way.
And it's probably faster than doing it manually.
Much faster and more efficient. And it can help with ongoing monitoring, too.
Ongoing monitoring. So it's not just a one-time thing.
Right. These tools can track vendor performance, send alerts if there are any issues, and generate reports so you can see your overall risk profile.
So you're constantly keeping tabs on your vendors.
Exactly. You have to, because things change all the time.
New vulnerabilities, new regulations, things can change fast.
Exactly. And these tools can help you stay ahead of the curve, identify potential problems before they become major issues.
Okay, I'm sold. This software sounds essential. But how do you choose the right one? There are so many options out there.
That's a good question. And there's no easy answer. It depends on a lot of factors. Your industry, the size of your company, your risk appetite, your budget.
So you really have to do your research, figure out what you need, then find a tool that fits.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to ask for demos or free trials. Most vendors are happy to provide those.
Great advice. Now let's talk about those frameworks we mentioned before. ISO 27001, the NIST cybersecurity framework. Those seem like they could be really helpful.
They can. Think of them as comprehensive guides. They provide a structured approach to managing information security and cybersecurity risks.
So they're like a blueprint for building a strong security foundation.
Exactly. And while they're not specifically focused on third-party risk, they offer valuable insights and best practices that you can adapt.
Okay, so they're not just about third-party risk, but they can be applied to that as well.
Right. Let's take ISO 27001, for example. It's an international standard for information security management systems. It covers a wide range of areas: risk assessment, access control, incident management.
It sounds pretty comprehensive.
It is. And while getting full ISO 27001 certification is a big commitment, even adopting some of the key principles and controls can really enhance your third-party risk management.
Got it. So you can pick and choose the parts that are most relevant to you.
Exactly. Now, the NIST Cybersecurity Framework, or CSF, is a bit different. It's a voluntary framework developed in the U.S. It's more flexible and scalable than ISO 27001.
So maybe a good option for smaller companies or those just starting out.
It could be. It's not as prescriptive as ISO 27001, but it still provides a valuable roadmap for managing cybersecurity risks.
Including those from third parties.
Of course.
So two different frameworks, each with its own strengths and weaknesses. How do you decide which one is right for you?
It depends, as always, on your specific needs and circumstances. If you're in a heavily regulated industry or you want that global recognition, ISO 27001 might be the way to go.
And if you need something more flexible and scalable, NIST CSF might be a better fit.
Exactly. And remember, you don't have to choose just one. You can integrate elements of both frameworks into your program.
So you can create a custom solution that meets your specific needs.
Exactly. That's the beauty of these frameworks. They're adaptable. You can tailor them to your unique situation.
Okay, we've talked about software, we've talked about frameworks, but there's one crucial element we haven't discussed yet.
And what's that?
The human element, because at the end of the day, it's people who are making the decisions, managing the relationships, keeping our organizations safe.
You're absolutely right. Technology and frameworks are great, but they're only as good as the people using them.
So let's talk about the people side of things. What are some key considerations?
First and foremost, everyone needs to understand the importance of third-party risk management. This isn't just IT's problem or compliance's problem. It's everyone's problem.
Or it's about creating a culture of awareness.
Exactly. Everyone needs to be thinking about this, not just as a box to check, but as a vital part of protecting the business.
And how do you create that culture?
Training is key. Everyone, from the CEO to the interns, needs to understand the risks, how to identify them, and what their role is in mitigating them.
So education is key. What else?
Communication. You need clear channels of communication between departments. Break down those silos. Create a collaborative environment where everyone feels comfortable raising concerns and sharing information.
Because silos are bad.
Very bad. And don't forget about your vendors. They're people too. And they want to keep your data safe.
So it's about building relationships.
Yes. Treat them as partners, not just transactions. Involve them in your risk management process, share your policies, give them feedback.
So it's all connected. Communication, collaboration, partnership.
Exactly. When you have all these pieces working together, the tech, the frameworks, the people, that's when you have a truly robust program.
A program that can withstand anything.
That's the goal.
Well, we've covered a lot of ground here today. We've explored the power of technology, the wisdom of frameworks, and the importance of the human element.
But we're not done yet.
Right. In our final part, we'll hear some real-world stories, both the good and the bad, to see how these concepts play out in practice.
Because knowledge is only powerful if we use it.
So stay tuned for Part 3, where we'll bring it all together. Welcome back, everyone. It's the final part of our deep dive into third-party risk
It's
management.
time to bring all those concepts to life.
Exactly. We've talked about due diligence, monitoring, building that strong security culture.
But nothing brings it home like real-world examples.
So let's hear some stories. Where have companies succeeded? Where have they fallen short?
Let's start with the cautionary tale.
Uh-oh.
I was working with a company partnering with a new cloud provider.
Huh.
On paper, everything looked perfect.
Certifications,
All the right ones.
security practices,
Solid.
price.
Competitive.
So what went wrong?
They didn't dig deep enough. They didn't ask the tough questions about data encryption, employee vetting, incident response.
So they checked the boxes but didn't really understand the risks.
Exactly. And it cost them. A few months in, there was a data breach at the cloud provider.
Right.
An employee exposed sensitive data, regulatory investigation, fines, reputation damage, the whole 9 yards.
Wow. So due diligence is about more than just checking boxes. You have to really understand how your third parties operate.
Absolutely, especially when it comes to data security.
Okay, what about another example?
I've got one. This one highlights the importance of ongoing monitoring. This company, they partnered with a marketing agency, had access to their social media.
Oh boy, I can see where this is going.
They vetted the agency thoroughly upfront, but then they kind of went on autopilot.
Yeah.
The agency accidentally posted something offensive on the company's social media accounts. Went viral, of course.
Yikes. Social media can be brutal.
It was a PR nightmare, a total mess, all because they weren't monitoring the situation.
So you can't just assume everything's fine once the contract's signed. You have to stay vigilant.
Exactly. Keep an eye on your third parties. Make sure they're still following your policies, their security's up to par, and nothing major has changed.
Okay, so regular check-ins, communication, all that good stuff.
It's all crucial. Now let's talk about a company that did things right. This was a financial institution, really proactive about third-party risk management.
Okay, so they were doing all the right things, but what made them stand out?
Their culture. They had woven third-party risk management into the fabric of their organization. It was part of their DNA.
So it wasn't just a checklist for them, it was a way of life.
Exactly. Regular training, open communication, shared responsibility. And it worked. They identified and mitigated risks early on, avoided any major incidents, built strong relationships with their vendors.
It's amazing what a difference the right culture can make. It's not just about the tools, it's about the mindset.
Exactly. And that brings us to a key takeaway for everyone listening. Effective third-party risk management is about building a comprehensive program.
People, processes, technology, all working together.
Exactly. And it's about creating that culture of awareness, where everyone understands the importance of this and actively participates in mitigating those risks.
So it's not just the responsibility of a few people, it's everyone's responsibility.
Everyone. And remember, this is a journey, not a destination. The threat landscape is always changing.
So you have to adapt, you have to evolve your program to keep up.
Exactly.
Okay, as we wrap up, what's one final thought you want to leave our listeners with?
Think about the software your company uses every day. Do you know how they handle data security? Do they have strong practices? Do they comply with regulations?
Those are good questions. We need to be asking those about any third party that has access to our data.
You do.
Well, that brings us to the end of our deep dive. We hope you found it insightful and helpful.
It's been a pleasure.
Remember, knowledge is power. And when it comes to third-party risk management, that knowledge can protect your business, your reputation, and your customers. Stay curious, stay informed, and stay ahead of the game.